Good morning. You are listening to The Praise, a Gold Chip communication station. We are streaming live as well as worldwide at the 1580thepraise.com. Listen now. We also are Facebooking live this show because we have, as promised, my guest today in the studio, Gerald Hoshea Williams Jr., author, speaker, and trainer. He is in the studio with us today. My name is Charlie Davis Jr. I am the senior pastor of Newborn Ministry. Location is 1756 Bryce Road in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. The show that you're listening to today is called Pastor Charlie Pause. Every now and then we need to take a pause before we speak. That came from a message that was done in the summer of 2019 series. We start talking about First James, first chapter, verse 19 and 20, talking about how we ought to be quick to listen. Somebody say quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to anger. And out of that message series, Pastor Charlie Pause was developed and heading forward. So today in the studio, I am so glad to welcome no other than my friend, my brother, Gerald Hoshea Williams. Say hello to the people today who's listening.
Shalom. Nice to be here. Appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you are here today. We're going to get started. We're going to dive right in. I want to read your bio, just a micro bio, real quick to let the audience know who is in the studio. And I personally know you, but they need to know some things about you. Hoshea is the well-accomplished speaker and trainer on the principles of the Torah. He has influenced thousands with his insight, which he cultivated from the personal development he received from multiple rabbis over the years, including Rabbi Ralph Messer, Rabbi Dave
Hargis,
yep. Rabbi Dominique Zangala. Yes, amen. Pastors, leaders, schools, and church communities have felt his impact of elevating their understanding of the Torah and its place in their maturation. With over 30 years of experience in the administration of deliverance and 15 years sharing principle-based deliverance, Hoshea speaks and facilitates training for congregations, colleges, and associations both nationally and abroad, and he is highly regarded by those who have experienced his workshop firsthand. Though called to serve the young urban community, he has helped many people from all walks of life in the area of addiction, codependency, and instability in their faith with the Messiah. Mm-hmm. Through utilizing the wisdom keys laid out by Hoshea, not only are individuals set free, but in turn, they are also learn how to set others free. So Hoshea, thank you for being here today.
Yes. I think it's an honor that, I'm your first guest.
Yes, you are.
On your show. And out of all our whole family, yes. You probably could have had a minister from, to fill up your whole calendar with all the ministers we have in our family.
True that.
I feel like I'm special since I get to go first.
You are special.
Those who are family out there.
There we go. There's that plug, right? We have in our family, we have this thing about you, my favorite. So
there you go.
And yes, audience, Hoshea is my nephew, my youngest sister, son. So therefore, yes, I have known him all his life. Great man of God. He is a father. Mm-hmm. He is a husband. Yep. He is a brother. He's a son. He's a nephew. Yeah. Most of all, he's a man of God. But he is an author as well. Mm-hmm. And this is why I really had you on the show, because you have a book that is out. Your first book, correct?
Yes, first one.
It is called Soul Bondage. What is this soul bondage you are referring to in your book, and why does it matter?
It's interesting that, growing up Christian charismatic, mm-hmm. I don't think that no one was clueless to the idea of soul ties. That seems to be a language that was among the community and the Christian congregation, soul ties.
Soul ties, yes.
But soul ties is completely different from soul bondage, whereas soul ties offer is legal and is lawful to have a soul tie, a healthy soul tie. Soul bondage is completely different. Completely different. And it's based on principles. And what I offer is, a lot of times when we go to we end the deliverance ministry, or we do the deliverance ministry, you see the prayer lines, you see people go up there, they try to get delivered, they do the hummy shummy, they fall on the floor, they have the oil, all these things happen. Right. But what if there was a principle? And that was the question I asked. Like, what if there's a principle? Even though we may be doing all the right things, but I keep returning back to the same issues and the same problems. Right. What if I'm breaking a principle naturally, according to the Torah, that's keeping me bound? Wow. How do we get set free from that? Like a good example is, how many times have you prayed for someone, come up there and say, hey, Pastor, will you pray for my my diabetes, my high blood pressure, and all this other things, and then they leave their house and then they go slam on Golden Corral and eat everything at the Golden Corral. Right. They're binding themselves back to that high blood pressure and back to that diabetes and all those other things. So it's not like the prayer didn't work. Come on. It's that they haven't hit the principle. It's the principle. Yeah. You can't sit there and say, Pastor, pray for my broken leg, but keep jumping off the bed. All right. Understood. And so I offer not all of the principles. There's tons of principles, but just a handful of principles, just enough to wet in your mouth to make you want to look into or search into and discover a little bit more about what other principles there possibly could be. Got you. Understood. You say that the biggest epidemic that we are facing with today is infirmity. You said that in your book. Mm-hmm. So can you explain to us what exactly is that? What is that infirmity? What is that? Well, infirmity is a disease. Okay. And a lot of people don't even understand that they are sick and that they're ill and they're in a state. Okay. They can repeat a cycle over and over and over again and then be like, I don't know why I keep repeating this cycle, but I keep repeating this cycle. It's infirmity. Gotcha. I love this one. It's described as a hole in your soul. Wow, that's deep. Can you explain that? Hole in your soul. It's described as a hole in your soul, a place of hurt, a place of wound. And what happens is Satan. Okay, gotcha. Satan, the adversary, comes and plays on that little place of weakness. Yes. And all he does is offer one little question. What's that question? It could be anything. Just anything that make you doubt. Right. And then once that question comes in, you go from a place of firmness, like I know that I know that I know, to a place of maybe I don't know. Exactly. Gotcha. And I guess growing up, yes, we heard doubt. Yeah. But when we use it in the language of the principles, it's infirmity. Infirmity. Yeah, definitely growing up, we would say, we often heard people say, let's not doubt. You got to have faith and not doubt. Because if you're doubting, then your faith is not there. So, but you're explaining that the principle is infirmity. Yeah, because the opposite of infirmity is firmness. And when you look at firmness means faith. Gotcha. And so it's nothing bizarre. No. I'm saying the reason why we're not successful in what we're supposed to be doing is we don't have enough faith. We don't have enough faith. But that's biblical teaching. It's very biblical. But now watch. What if the area of infirmity, like let me think of an example in the book. Paul puts it like this in Romans chapter 7. He says, that what I don't want to do, that's what I end up doing. Yes. And then he goes into Romans chapter 8. He says something else. He says, you have to decide what is carnal, what is spiritual, and what do you want to put your trust in. And you have to hate the carnal, and put your faith in the spiritual. We have a problem with hating the carnal. Yeah. Is that what I'm hearing? You can say that because it's your show. Okay. I'm not saying that. It's my show. It's your show. We have a problem with the hating the carnal. Yeah. Yep. And so this could be anything. I mean, we put our trust in so many things that are not things that does not transition into heaven. Yes. Things that's going to be buried. Things that's going to corrupt and corrode and rust away. We put all our confidence in those things, and it causes an infirmity. Yes. I got you. I'm following you. I hope our listeners are following us this morning. What is the most recent battle that you had to overcome? And what did you learn from that experience? I have to say this morning.
This morning.
All
right. This is recent, folks.
Yeah, you asked the most recent. Yeah. Coming on this show, having the opportunity to come and share. Mm-hmm. I know the first thing that the enemy tried to bring up into my heart was infirmity. Hey, let's bring up your past.
Wow.
How many of us try to move forward in our call, in our anointing, and our purpose, and our potential, and our providence? And the first thing the enemy does is bring up your past and say, but you can't say that because you this. And remember remember that in the attack of your past. And the goal of those attacks to bringing up your past is to make you be infirm. Because once you're infirm, you won't move in faith.
Absolutely. So how did you overcome that this morning? Just simply being here?
Well, I'm
glad you showed.
Right. Yes. I overcame because I recognize, and that's the beauty of the Soul Bondage book. It offers principles so you can recognize these tools. When we know the tactics of the enemy, we were like, oh my gosh, that's so silly. Yes. I can't even believe that's him. But right now, most people, majority of people don't understand the tactics, don't understand the principles. And I bring about some things that are what I would call spiritual, tactical, supernatural, crazy warfare.
Okay. Let's talk about warfare.
Principle-based warfare.
Yeah, there you go. Principle-based warfare.
Principle-based warfare. That's like a whole other level.
Yeah, there you go. I hear you. So that prompts me to another question. Tell us about principle-based deliverance.
Yeah. So what do you think about when you hear principles?
Principles are, for me, it's about the principle. Like we have a certain situation and you want to handle it a certain way, and he's like, well, I can't do it that way, or I just simply say, it's the principle of the matter, I'm going to handle it.
You think about a rule or a conviction?
Yeah, rule, conviction. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so there are rules and convictions that the Father has that he holds, that governs the whole entire earth. And then there's principles that are in place right now that even Hasatan, Satan, has to abide by. Now it sounds funny, but the main thing that I want to get people to understand from the reading the book is that Satan is a legalist.
Yeah. Okay, explain that.
Okay, so Paul says there's only two people that accuse us. He said the accusers are Satan and the Torah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, so you have the law that accuses us, says you did this wrong, you did that wrong. And then you have Satan that accuses us, says you did that wrong, you did that wrong. And so when I had that thought this morning, oh, you did that wrong, you did that wrong, you did that wrong. I'm like, hold on, that's not the spirit of Messiah.
That's not the spirit of Christ, yes.
So that must be the accuser.
Must be the accuser. Right.
It has to be the accuser.
Right, bringing some infirmity.
Bringing the infirmity, right? Yeah. And so here we go. If a good example of a good principle base for deliverance. I like to use this one and maybe like the last part of the book. Not too many people make it to that far.
I read the entire book, I will say.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me have one of the first copies.
Yes. But at the end of the book, I go over some principles concerning vows and oaths.
Yeah.
And most people don't like these principles because they challenge us.
Yes.
But I understand your perspective on headship and how, men are supposed to be the head of the home, etc. Yes. The Torah also presents that in Numbers chapter 15. It says, okay, if you are the man of your house, the deliverance begins when you are dealing with your wife and your children.
Okay.
It's for the men. You are responsible to deliver the souls of your wife and children.
Wow.
Not take up to the pastor.
Right.
Not have her stand in line. Right. And I've been to congregations and I've seen women in line and, pastor need to pray for this, pray for that, pray for this.
Wow.
And if he was principle based for that deliverance, he did what he was supposed to do.
Right.
How many shamani he anointed her and how many shamani anointed her.
Right.
But if he was principle based, he would say, let me ask you, who's your head?
Yeah, who's your head? Who's your covering?
Who's your covering? Because he should be the one who's responsible for loosening your soul.
Yeah. Yes. So if the woman was married, then her husband is responsible for that.
Exactly. So if your wife is bound up and she's locked up and she's not prospering the way she's supposed to be prospering, you got to take the time and invest in her and loosen her up. He could go to the pastor all day, but he's violating.
Yeah. Wow.
He's going in areas where he should not be going into.
Okay.
So if I say to you, hey, bro, I'm going to come over tomorrow and I'm going to dig in your wife's soul. you'd be like, you gonna do what with my wife?
Yeah, even though you know her.
Right, even though I know her. Right, you gonna do what with my wife? That's violation.
I see it.
It's the job of the husband to work that out.
So what about those who, I'm just throwing this out there real quick, for those single women? And unless, well, I have 3 sisters, and I have one in particular that I actually cover 2 of my sisters. So I guess I would be there covering for them. So there I would be responsible for helping their soul.
Yeah, and see, that's a good principle. I mean, that's a good question too, because most people think that a covering is just straight up sexual, and it's not sexual.
No.
It can be financial, it could be spiritual, it could be emotional. The intimacy, now the level that you can be intimate and how deep you can dig into the relationship is going to be limited because you're not their husband.
Right.
Just like the father only has certain levels. And I talk about this in the book, and I mean, there's no way I can explain it all right now, but the father only could go but so far as in his deliverance, you know. But what husband could go way further than what the father can go.
Like
intimately.
Right, exactly, because I cover my wife as well. I didn't want to leave that out there. And
I cover my wife too. Wife, I love you. I appreciate you being the glue of my life.
Right. Miss Kelly, I love you too. Smiling. Smile big, baby. Smile big. But anyway, real quick, let's do this quick plug. Where should people go if they want to connect with you and learn more about you and things that you're doing?
Right now, the best place to go is soulbondage.com. The word one complete, just soulbondage.com. And then I'll have information about getting the book there. Of course, it's available on Amazon for just free teachings. I got tons of free teachings on the House of Israel, Ohio YouTube page. And the best way to find that is Hoshea, that's spelled HOSHEA _HOIO, House of Israel, Ohio. So my YouTube, there's a link on that soulbondage.com as well. So if you go to soulbondage.com, you'll find all the links for free teaching, opportunities to have me come out, speak and share. Cool. You know, I'm really interested right now, Uncle, in doing workshops. I'm interested in just doing like Bible studies, you know, locally. Yeah. You know, of course, if I go abroad, you know, it'd be different things, but, you know, just local Bible studies, just get some dialogue going on and getting some people set free. Principle.
There you go.
You know.
Yes, for those who just tuning in with us, this is Charlie M. Davis Jr., the senior pastor of Newborn Ministry, 1756 Bryce Road. I know some are saying, well, I thought you was a bishop. Yes, my most recent elevation happened in November 2019 to the office of bishop. Although the show was called Pastor Charlie Pause, which came out of a teaching series that was done in the summer of 2019, out of the book of James, first chapter, verse 19 and 20, where it begins to talk about be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, and it just caused us to dive in and came up with a moment where we need to take a Pastor Charlie pause. That means we need to pause before we speak, and even though we may have the rights to tongue lash somebody spiritually, take a Pastor Charlie pause before you do that. I also just want to make mentions of some things that we have coming up. See Bust Out Loud, February 15th, this Saturday. Clean Comedy will be at 1756 Bryce Road, Reynoldsburg, Ohio. We have headliner Bill Hill. We have feature The Mighty Snow Cone and our very own host, Sonia with the C, Sonia Almond. That is me with the C here at WVKO 1580 The Praise. Back to Hoshea, I have a couple more questions for you, and that is, what is the difference in your book you write, and you talk about what is the difference between function and dysfunction?
Function and dysfunction. Now, the functional classes and the functional aspects of the teaching that I go around teaching, that's like something that I would teach in a school. I would teach in a Fortune 500 company. Someone who don't want a more of a spiritual dialogue. They just want extra basic wisdom. Okay. And so I offer a service where I go around and teach this basic function versus dysfunction, because the Torah is a natural book.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, it applies to us, you know, our life. We don't have to go into a whole big Jesus spill and a whole big God spill. We could really just teach the wisdom of the Torah.
Right.
And you could take a 12-year-old boy and turn him into a man real quick.
which is much needed.
Yeah.
Much needed.
And so that's just another service that I offer. In the Garden of Eden, it said that we were not supposed to eat of the tree of good and evil.
Yeah.
Yep. But that word in Hebrew is functional and dysfunctional.
Wow. I wonder how many people knew that.
Yeah. And so when we ate of that tree, we opened the door to dysfunction.
Right.
And so I just go in and I say, hey, before we even start talking about, your soul, before we start talking about, anything spiritual, do you understand that you're a man?
Right.
Do you understand you're a woman?
The posture.
Yeah. Do you understand what your characteristics are?
Yes.
What's your purpose to be? You're supposed to be a provider, protector, visionary, cultivator. Do you know that you're supposed to be a husbandman, a lawgiver, a hunter? Right. As a man, do you know these things?
Right.
And most men, I'll be the first one to admit, I didn't know those things.
Right. It was years later when we learned those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I don't want to wait till, I don't want people to have to wait till they're 30 years old. And I mean, the first 5 years of my marriage, golly, if I wish we just knew those things.
Right.
All the turmoil I wouldn't have went through.
Yeah, I understand. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do take ourselves through some unnecessary trips that we don't have to take ourselves through if we learn some principles. I just want to ask you this question as well. You say that in your book, you said that we need the principle of our forefathers. What is wrong with the principles we are learning now?
Yeah, that's a good question. When you think about let's just go back 2 generations.
Okay.
My grandfather, your father, if he saw the way that I teach, wearing jeans, he'd be like, "What are you doing in the pulpit with jeans?"
Absolutely. That was not allowed.
Exactly. I've seen people do praise and worship and they be sagging,
jorts,
underwear showing.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's just 1 generation back, 2 generations back for me, but that's just 1 generation back for you.
Yes.
Look at the order that our forefathers had. I say, like, even now at my father's congregation, there's some elders in there that they're just like rocks.
Yes.
You're not going to be chewing gum in church. You're not going to be texting. You're not going to be walking out when the Bible's being read.
Absolutely.
I remember as a child just having that finger snapped at me, like, "Hey, you."
Yeah.
That's 2 generations.
Finger snap, finger pointed.
Yeah. And then it was open season if everybody want to spank you.
Oh yeah.
Think about it. That's just 2 generations back.
That meant a village took ownership.
Exactly.
Raising. Yeah.
So if the further we go back, we see those principles starting to tighten up. The further we go forward and we say, let's not tighten up the principles, that's when we can get more lawless. As it says in Matthew chapter 7, the generation becomes very lawless.
Yeah.
And so the further we go back, heck, you got to remember, if we was in slave time, we probably had to be very quiet. Worse, the master knew that we could read.
Pastor, pause. Very quiet.
And that's just a few generations back. And now we're just reckless in our congregations and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So out of that, we know what is wrong. How do we fix that? Do you some of the, I guess, knowing the principles or identifying, number one, and number 2, I would say applying. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's what wisdom says. Wisdom says that it's not about her attainment, but her application.
Yeah.
So it don't matter what you know. Yeah. It's about what you apply.
Yeah.
And so I know that I'm called to a very specific group.
Yes.
It's not going to be for everybody. I'm not called to the masses. My message is for a very specific group who has a very specific walk that says, you know what, I want a little bit more. And who wants to go to the next level, who constantly do the same thing week after week and feel like they're hanging on by a thread. I want to say, okay, look, you've been prayed on, you've been oiled on, you've been spit on, you've been drooled on. But who has your soul bound?
Who have your soul bound?
What happened to you when you was 13?
Gotcha.
Did you go back and get your soul back?
Yeah, right. Sometimes we got to go back and get our soul back.
That's crazy. It's crazy. And there's some fun dynamics like that in the book, It was definitely a pleasure to write. I thank you for your encouragement, for keeping me saying, keep going when I wanted to quit.
You did an awesome job. Yes. I have one more question. Time is winding up winding up. I just want to ask this because I think it's very important. Tell us about your functional chart. You have a chart in your book, and I thought it was very impressive. And I know we kind of glossed over it just a few moments ago, but can you just tell a little more about your functional chart?
Okay, so our functional chart that we use when we go out and teach is it's just a functional chart that shows the difference between a man, a woman, and a beast. The beast we don't deal with too much. That's going to be on a little more mature level.
Yeah.
But we definitely have to start with man and woman.
Yeah.
You know, if we get a woman to go back to a state of function, in Matthew chapter 4 and Mark chapter 4 and Matthew chapter 13 and Luke chapter 8,
yes.
we hear the parable of the sower. And Christ said that the good ground was able to produce the word.
Yes.
So if good is functional, that means you have to be in a functional state for this word to take root.
All right.
So if you don't even know the difference whether you a dog or a cat, if you don't know whether you're a man or a woman,
right.
How is the word going to take root in you?
Right. So your function will be wrong.
Your function is wrong.
Dysfunction again.
You're dysfunctional.
Okay.
And so just starting there and just saying, hey, look, what is your purpose? Did you know that you as a woman, that you're a resource, that you're a helpmate, that you're a garden? Do you know your value? Just starting there.
Knowing your value.
And we talked to people and they said, I have no clue why I'm here.
Yeah, oftentimes people, even today, in our congregations, people often say they don't know their purpose. They're 40 years old, 45 years old, and don't know their purpose.
Yeah.
So
if you don't know your purpose and then you get up and say, hey, be spiritual minded, be all this stuff. I mean, heck, you got to be a man first. You got to be a woman first. You got to know you exist first.
Absolutely. Know that you exist as a man. Have that posture of a man. Know that you exist as a woman. Have that role and posture as a woman. And before we close out on this, I would like to ask, where should people go again if they want to have you come and share with them and teach with them, apply some of these principles? Where should they go? One more time,
definitely go to soulbondage.com. That's the word soul, SOUL, bondage.com. Like I said, if you're in the 614 area, I'm coming out for free. I just want to, talk to people in their their Wednesday night Bible study, or Sunday school, whatever case may be. But if you're abroad, just contact me. There's a book now on soulbondage.com.
Cool, great. You are listening to The Praise, a Gold Chip communication station. We are streaming live and we are Facebooking live in today worldwide at 1580thepraise.com. This is Pastor Charlie Pauls. Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you for those who are listening. I just pray that they have the spirit of hearing. Thank you for our guests on the show today. I pray that you just bless the listeners. Bless them in a mighty way, Lord God. Share your love, share your joy, share your peace over our people today. Yeah. Heavenly Father, you are great. You're awesome. We love you in Jesus' name.
Oh, yeah.
Amen. Good. Cool. I had 11.